What is going on, everyone? My name is Kevin, and today I am bringing you another full comparison and showdown video between two of Samsung's hottest offerings. The mid-range Galaxy A51, which is punched way above its class, and the flagship Galaxy S20. Today, we will find out how that much more affordable device stacks up against Samsung's flagship. Currently, there is a massive price difference between the two phones. I'm talking $1,000 versus just $285. I'll go in detail on the specs, the main features, the day-to-day performance, and this will also include a camera test comparison and a speed test. You'll see why I chose to compare these two phones and which one is right for you. First, let's take a quick tour of the phones. These devices have a generally similar design aesthetic. To the untrained eye, the larger A51 with a case on can be mistaken for the Galaxy S20. I mean, they're both sporting that rectangular rear camera, a hole punch front cutout, and they share the same placement of buttons. Now, when you take a closer look at these two phones, you'll notice there is a lot that set them apart aside from just the speed and performance. The build materials here are vastly different. On the S20, we have the top-end Gorilla Glass 6 protecting both the display panel and the back. This glass and accenting aluminum frame make the S20's build aesthetically uncompromising. By contrast, the A51 can look relatively inexpensive. I say this not because of the color or the pattern, but because of the plastic back, which picks up fingerprints a lot easier than glass. Almost all of my favorite A51 features are found here, made better and implemented in a smarter way for the Galaxy S20. All but one, and that is the headphone jack. The S20 comes with a pair of USB-C earbuds, meanwhile the A51 is paired with a standard 3.5mm set. The other differences in the accessories are a better 3A super fast charger for the S20 compared to the 2A A51 charger. Getting back to the phones, one standout difference between them is in the displays. Now, this is still one area that I will not complain at all with the Galaxy A51. The 6.5-inch display is the nicest panel I've seen on a phone of this price. It's got a resolution of 2400 by 1080, a pixel density of 405 pixels per inch, and it's Super AMOLED. The S20's AMOLED panel is Samsung's dynamic display technology. I don't have a favorite between the two when it comes to contrast and colors. On the other hand, the refresh rate and sharpness are on a whole different level. This is the first 120Hz phone I'm using, and oh, was I impressed with that responsiveness. The difference between this phone on 120Hz versus the Galaxy A51's 60Hz is quite clear to anyone. Now, this high refresh rate option drops down the resolution from 3200 by 1440 down to just full HD 1080p. Another drawback of that high refresh rate is that it significantly drains your battery life. All things considered, the capability to switch between the two modes on the S20 puts it far ahead of the A51 in my book. Both devices have the face unlock feature and the on-screen fingerprint scanner. The A51 scanner is an optical scanner, and the S20's is an ultrasonic. The practical difference just isn't that apparent. See for yourself. The packaging of these phones are very different. I've already touched on the charging brick and the earbuds, but what went unsaid was that the S20 doesn't come with a clear plastic case. I was fortunate to receive one in my A51 box since I did order this in the North American region. Onto battery life. Both have a 4000 mAh battery. I'm comparing the battery results of both displays put onto the 60Hz mode, and they have a very comparable screen on time readout. I'm talking 5 hours of screen on time for either phone, and this number I got to from my results, averaging them out over 3 days using the phone moderate to heavy use. When I went into the battery saving modes on both phones, the S20 actually edged out the Galaxy A51, but only by 30 minutes of screen on time. If you think this is a marginal difference, well, I would agree, but the 25-watt fast charging capability of the S20 and its wireless charging puts it ahead of the A51, no doubt. Either phone you choose, getting a full day's worth of battery is almost guaranteed for everyone. The next thing I want to show you is the speed test results. We'll start with the boot up test. Actually, before that, I gotta ask, what are the 58% of you guys watching this video doing? Subscribe to my channel with notifications turned on, because every week I'm working on a new video like this. Okay, so all of the other background apps have been closed on both phones. Let's begin. The boot up test win goes to the S20, of course, but not by far. I ran my usual speed tests, web browsing, opening up the camera app, and opening games. Across the board, the S20 took the edge. In the day-to-day performance, I did notice a few things I immediately took note of. So now, those app crashing issues I was having with the Galaxy S20 when I just got it have ceased, and the pendulum has kind of swung the other way around onto the A51 in terms of performance hiccups. There is an introduction to lag, which I'd never had before, and this could simply be attributed to the fact I have so many apps and so many programs installed on the phone. But again, this is the type of thing that we will not find with the flagship phone so early on. I will of course do a revisited review on the A51 down the road once I've removed all unnecessary apps. That will give you an even further look into the longevity of Samsung's Exynos mid-range devices. Snapdragon 865 and Adreno 650 on here is miles ahead of the A51's Exynos 9611 and Mali G72 in benchmarks. Between these two phones, gaming was another area in which the more expensive device really shined in terms of computational power and also the graphics power. The S20's chipset has that future-proof appeal, and I personally believe that in the coming years we will still see this phone supporting and very well handling the game titles of the years to come. Let's talk cameras. On the rear of the S20, we have the triple lens array. These are all very capable lenses. The ultra-wide lens, for instance, at f2.2 has an option for super steady video recording, and this has been an absolute pleasure to use. As for a side-by-side, you can tell there is a clear winner in each and every shot. The flagship consistently edges out the A51, not only in regards to sharpness and depth of field, but also color accuracy too. The same goes for the selfies. The S20's images are often overprocessed, but they're still much preferable to that of any mid-range phone. The A51 has good video recording options. 4K at 30 frames per second, 1080p at 120 frames per second, and there's an option for electronic stabilization on 1080p, but it ain't no OIS. The optical stabilizing axis on the Galaxy S20 is brilliant. This phone also has 8K video recording. They're both running Android 10 and Samsung's One UI. Since it is a flagship, I would expect the S20 to receive software updates faster. Here are some cons you'll have to overlook if you're picking up the Galaxy A51 over the S20. Here, we have no water resistance rating, there's no wireless charging or reverse wireless charging, and the A51's NFC has not yet been enabled for Samsung's wireless payment. All of these are features that have been added and refined on the S series, so keep that in mind. You know, with a screen to body ratio like this and this panel type, you're sure to have everyone guessing you paid double the price for the phone, and it isn't a no compromise flagship killer, but now you know what its shortcomings are. There are those features that people are just too accustomed to drop, like wireless charging, and if it bothers you that this phone doesn't have it, then go with the Galaxy S20, but if none of those features really bother you, and you're someone like me, go with the Galaxy A51, because this is after all the best bang for your buck phone of 2020 so far. The next video is coming up on my channel real soon, so if you haven't already subscribed, make sure you do that with the notification bell, like this video, and I will see you in the next video.